What you're
I have
doing is
nothing useful to say.
what you're doing is you're trying to introduce.
Okay.
Mute him.
All right.
I have nothing to say. He's just
Okay.
intellectual masturbation.
Okay. Got it. So, Darth, I didn't break my promise. You got it, but Professor Krauss doesn't want to. All right. So, Professor.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
By deflecting, talking about physics and cosmology. Okay?
That was hilarious.
He got destroyed. What a buffoon that guy is.
Yeah, Darth, you definitely destroyed him. But
that was humiliating coming from a physicist. What an embarrassing human being that was. Okay? The first part of it, hold on a second, don't overtalk me. He interrupted me 5 times. Okay? Because he didn't like something that I said in the question. Then one time when I do interrupt him, when he was not answering the question, he goes, you're interrupting me. What we have here is a teenager trapped in an adult's body who happens to be a physicist. What an immature little scumbag this guy was. Okay? Now, the point is simply this. Yeah, hurry up.
Please tell me that you recorded the part where he said a chance is ultimate.
I have it recorded.
Good.
Okay, and then, no, he didn't want an interaction. He wanted to stonewall. He wanted to filibuster his way out of it. Notice why he kept on deflecting to the multiverse, okay? I simply pointed out to him, okay? If you don't assert that God does not exist, then how did you determine that therefore nothing stands in causal relations to God? He was blindsided. I am shocked at what happened because I didn't even think that he would fail so abysmally. Okay? He made himself look like a complete fool. But did you hear Isaac at the end of that trying to white knight for Krauss's embarrassment? See, this is what these people do when they get cornered by questions that nail them, then they just filibuster. And that's what he was attempting to do. He was attempting to filibuster his way out of it when he wasn't answering my question. My point is I wasn't talking about chance in terms of probabilistic occurrences. I'm talking about, and I made it clear to him, chance is ultimate. There is nothing that is instituting and securing what's possible and impossible. And when I said to him, is anything impossible? He goes, well, I don't know. Well, then from his perspective, nothing can be stipulated to be impossible. Okay? Nothing's impossible. And if nothing is impossible, then you cannot assert what is, can be, or cannot be.
I mean, he admitted that he doesn't have an answer to your question.
He was a buffoon. He was just as intellectually inept as your regular atheist Discord participant. That's how bad he was. And he tried to use his motor mouth and talking about peripheral issues. Do you notice how he tried to interject physics? And I said, I'm not talking about physics. But then he tried to insist that physics governs everything. And I said to him, I'm not a monist. I'm not a materialist or a naturalist like you are.
Yeah, I did notice that. And
how does he know? How would he know that physics covers everything if he doesn't know what is singularly ultimate and fundamental, instituting possibility? He's just pulling this stuff out of his ass.
Hey, I got a question about what I was talking about earlier. It's a follow-up question to the baptism.
We'll have to talk about that later. Right now, we're just talking about my interaction with Larry Krauss. This guy showed himself. He showed himself as a fool. He may have an earned PhD in physics, okay? But when he's talking outside his field, he shows himself that he has the mind of a child, okay? All right. Now, you'll notice that he had the same chip on his shoulder attitude as every rudimentary atheists that they come along. They get agitated, they become belligerent, they become motor mouths, they start, being verbose but not answering the question. He was not answering my questions, okay? If he says God is not necessary, okay, and I explained to him that God would be defined as what is ultimate and fundamental, instituting all possibility. If that is not necessary, how'd you determine that, right? And then he says, well, there's no evidence for it. How'd you determine there's no evidence for God? You'd have to first determine God does not exist before you could say that all the facts that he's acquainted with don't stand in causal relations. He had no answer any better, and he failed even worse than your average Discord atheist. That's how badly he answered.
Yeah, I've noticed he does the same kind of verbose, just filibustering tactics with other.
I mean, does anyone who was there think that he was substantively responding to my question? Or was he simply trying to be a motor mouth and run the clock out?
Yeah, he had no idea what you. He had no idea.
He was clueless. And you see, William Lane Craig could have smoked him in his debates. But because William Lane Craig is not a biblical presuppositionalist, that's why he didn't smoke Krauss. You know, that interaction is going to go down in Discord history, where, you know, this guy who writes books on physics and cosmology literally was babbling incoherently like a teenager. Any comments? Agreements? Disagreements?
He sounded
Totally agree,
he
man.
sounded like the little kid on Leave It to Beaver.
I can't believe
Did somebody record it?
I recorded it.
They
I got
recorded it as
Awesome.
well.
Can somebody post it in the Atheist Helpline?
Wait till you hear it. Krauss was an obnoxious jerk, right? But he still couldn't answer my questions. And then this arrogant jerk tried to slander me by saying I was ranting when I was merely, in the first part of it, merely trying to get my point across clearly. And he said that I was ranting. You know, in other words, I'm ranting because I wasn't obsequious and sycophantic toward him. Oh, yes, Dr. Krauss.
Exactly,
He said it was a rant because the question posed to him was something he didn't know how to answer. Yeah, well, I said to him point blank, if you don't know what is ultimate and fundamental, instituting what's possible and impossible, and since he was unwilling to stipulate that nothing is impossible, I said, then anything can be in your world, okay? Therefore, it destroys your ability to say anything. Anything can happen. Therefore, if you assert X, I can say, no, not X, because anything can be at any moment. But then you can assert the contradiction of that. And then I can contradict that because anything can happen. Wait,
are you talking about Ben Beal?
No, I'm talking about my interaction with Lawrence Krauss. I am truly shocked at how abysmally he failed. I did not realize that he would have reasoned as badly as he did. You notice how hyper he got?
He was seething.
Oh, he was pissed. Well, at least I was able to get in and expose this atheist fraud like other atheists, and a Canadian Catholic did not interfere like he did the last time with David Silverman. Krauss, you know, thinks that being a bully just because he's the guest, so you can be a bully, okay? And then I pointed out, how many times did you hear me say, Dr. Krauss, you are not specifically addressing my question. He was talking around it. See, this is what people do, especially those people that have more education under their belt. They will talk about peripherally related subjects when they either can't or won't answer the question at hand. And that's exactly what he was doing. And I said to him, I'm not talking about physics. And then he tried to pull this crap. Well, physics governs everything. How'd you determine that? See, this guy is a foaming at the mouth, rabid atheist. He categorically says God is not necessary. But when I ask him, how'd you determine there's no God? He goes, well, I'm not saying there's no God. I'm just saying he's not necessary. Well, guess what? That's the same thing. If God's not necessary, then God doesn't exist. So doesn't this go to show you folks, you can get an earned PhD in physics and still being a blithering idiot when it comes to theology or philosophy. Well, I'm glad I had the opportunity. I was really looking forward to it. I had a neighbor calling me off and on for some help with something, and I'm like, oh, don't believe, But I'm glad I had the interaction to expose the absolute bankruptcy and foolishness of Lawrence Krauss. Okay?